Fellow Toastmasters, yes, July 12th, 1979, I was wrapping up a month-long vacation in the Bahamas. I was making my connecting flight from Andros to Nassau when I was informed that my flight had been canceled. I was stuck in Nassau. It's an expensive place to be. So I remembered a friend had told me about just going to the private section of the airport and catching a ride. And that's what I did. The very first person I asked said, "Sure, I'm just going to Fort Lauderdale. I'll be glad to take a passenger." We landed in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm thinking, this is a great way to get around. Next person I asked, "Hey, you got room for a passenger?" "Sure, I'm just going down to Homestead to visit my mother, but you're welcome to ride along." Went, Homestead? That's towards the Keys. I'm going north. Thanks anyway. So now I'm thinking, this is incredible, 100%. Well, for the next 3 or 4 hours, I asked people for rides. They were either going to the Keys, to the Bahamas, or if they were in a Learjet, they looked at me like, "Are you serious?" So, as the afternoon passed, a familiar face came walking back up. It was the same guy that I'd asked originally. He had been down to Homestead and back. He suggested that I start fresh in the morning. It was getting a little late. And he looked at me like maybe I was starting to look a little grubby after spending the day standing there catching all the prop wash in the sun. Said, "There's a Motel 6 right up the street. I'll drop you off there. It's a half-a-mile walk back." Great. We get in front of the Motel 6. It was a Motel 15. And I looked at him, and without a word, he handed me a $20 bill and said, "Good luck." I get out. I said, "Hey, I got to get your name and address because I want to send this back to you." He gave it to me, Reverend Brohammer. So, the next morning, the very first person I ask says, "Sure, I'm going to New York and I'm going to refuel in North Carolina." I'm in heaven. Next thing I know, I'm at 10,000 feet. We're flying up the coastline. I'd had a few hours of flying experience. He let me take the controls, and I literally flew the entire coastline of Florida, 10,000 feet, straight and level. I took a nap. About 10 minutes into my nap, I got jolted out of my sleep. I wake up, the plane is out of control. I look at the pilot, and he's saying, "Oh God, oh Jesus Christ!" I was in shock, and I really wasn't a very spiritual person back then, but that was changing rapidly. And I found myself saying, "Oh God, oh Jesus Christ, what have I gotten myself into?" Well, he started to regain some control of the plane. And I said, "What's the plan?" He says, "Well, now that we still have a little altitude and I've got control of it again, we want to find somewhere to land." I said, "What about the beach?" So it doesn't look like there's anybody down there. Keep an eye out for a building. Well, we dropped down into the clouds. We were losing altitude fast. We came out of the clouds. And I looked down, and we were probably 1,500 feet in the air. And there were people right below us, and they were all standing on the ground looking up. They could tell that we were in serious trouble. And as we passed over them, I saw a big, huge field out to the left. And I pointed that out to the pilot. And we were traversing and trying to get back around to land on the grass. We were out over the marsh, and he screams, "We're not going to make it! We're not going to make it!" I put my feet on the dashboard of the plane and braced myself, and we hit the earth at about 70 miles an hour like a javelin sticking in the mud. Immediately upon impact, it's that same kind of feeling that you see in the Olympic gymnasts, that when they stick a landing, they just stand there for a minute and to realize whether or not they're landed on their head or on their feet or what just happened. We climbed out of the plane. We were stuck in the mud, climbed out on the one wing that was still sticking out of the water. The pilot was shaking like this. And I looked at him. He was as white as a sheet. He said, I looked at him and I said, "Man, you all right?" He goes, "Yeah." What I didn't realize was if the impact doesn't get you in that kind of crash, the fire usually does. It worked out perfect for us.